So AEW tried to counteract the dominance on Tuesday nights. They're a Tuesday night titan, NXT are. And AEW tried to counteract this on their special night with Tuesday. I'm sorry. Hold on. That's Title Tuesday. I couldn't read my writing there.
It would have been more enjoyment if it was City Tuesday.
There was some big floppy titties, but the problem was it was the guys that had them. Anyway, they were back at Daly's place in Jacksonville, Florida, and it looks like the set of a game show, but at least they feel at home there. And they started the show with a in-ring face-to-face with Hangman Adam Page and Samoa Joe. And this was a long-awaited confrontation, Brian, because as you will recall, Samoa Joe and Adam Page got mad at each other 6 whole fucking days ago. So I have been foaming at the mouth to see them go face-to-face. They shot that impromptu thing last week because they didn't have a pay-per-view main event, I guess, because maybe somebody else got one of the people that got hurt, screwed things up, whatever. So they manufactured a sudden reason for Joe and Paige to be mad at each other. Joe would be a great heel if they're switching him. I don't know if they are. He came out with Hobbs and Shapoopy, and they all shook hands, and then Hobbs and Ship went to the back. But if it's more of this indie level, there's no baby faces and no heels bullshit that just confuses an already confusing issue here. They're wasting their time, and they're just going to beat Joe in a pay-per-view match, and then he's going to go back to being one of these 6-man miscellaneous champions. If they're switching him heel and he's going to goddamn have a concerted push going forward, I wouldn't even mind him dropping the goddamn thing this week, but I can't believe, or next week, whenever it is, at the pay-per-view, I can't believe they're going to put the belt on him, even though I'd like to see it. So, again, if they're going to switch him heel and put him in a main event spot, this is great. If they just did this for one show to beat him with Paige, who's getting more and more on my last nerve, then
Oh, did you listen to what, again, he doubles down on this type of promo where it's clear that he's not speaking in a natural way. And then eventually it always ends up with, like, bring your best, or I want you at your best, or I used to look up to you, or you should look up to me.
It's a phony delivery with phony enunciations of prepared material that he thinks sounds good in his head. And he's always got to growl it and sound fierce and like he's a tough guy. The better thing about this segment was that unlike everybody else, when Paige is droning on and on in this fashion, he's an unappealing and unlikable babyface in traditional terms. You have to already like him to put up with this. You have to want to like the concept of him, the idea of him. But what Joe did was he just stood there and smirked at him, which is what Samoa Joe, if he was really the guy Samoa Joe is supposed to be, would do to this fucking guy. He would stand there and smirk at him. And Paige goes on about, I gave you a shot because you and the others helped me with Moxley's bunch, but I will not let you take this from me. Joe cut a promo like a professional wrestler. He sounds more natural. He has a tone and a delivery and an inflection. And he called Paige a pretender. He said, we had your back or you wouldn't be the man. Everything you said was true. But I forgot who I was, who my target is, the champion, and you are no champion. And Joe tore him a new asshole verbally with a pro wrestler's delivery and an attempt to have a serious interview segment that might draw money for a pay-per-view main event. And he told him he's going to choke him out and win his belt. Why don't they let this guy fucking go regularly, weekly on television? instead of having green partners and meaningless multiple man belts. They are so short on either exciting heels or appealing baby faces that Joe could be either. And then Paige tried to come back on him by yelling louder and tried to sound like a tough guy in front of a guy who could break him in fucking half. But Joe was still unbothered, even though Paige had the last word. But Paige was unintimidating, and I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with Joe, but I will not hold out a lot of hope because I think they just manufactured this for one show, and then he's back in the deep freeze. What do you think?
I mean, we'll see. It's weird that they would manufacture this for one show. At the same time, WWE's manufacturing stuff for one show. But no, it's weird that they would do that. Samoa Joe's so much better as a heel. I know they need top baby faces. He's not going to be the top baby face. They need a good heel that isn't in the Moxley group and that isn't in the Don Callis group. But again, I'm not convinced he's turning heel just yet. And it seems like Hobbs isn't either. So we'll see what happens there, but Adam Page is terrible. People like him. People swear that his promos are good, I guess because he puts so much passion into them. But if you listen to what
says a lot of words and enunciates them all clearly.
Yeah, if you listen to what he's saying, he's full of shit, and he goes too long. He goes way too long.
All righty. Well, speaking of going too long, I know a couple of guys who have gone about 3 or 4 years too long. They should have retired a while ago. Dick the Boozer and Ishii. That's a match we got. The worst American wrestler in the world. I can't say the worst Japanese wrestler in the world as long as Okada still draws a breath, but my God. Moxley took forever to wander into the building. They ring the bell. They went forehead to forehead. Again, Moxley and a Japanese baked potato with arms and legs. And they talked to each other, and then they traded 33 fake forearms that didn't land, and nobody took a bump. What? Who watches this? 2 ugly guys doing fake wrestling. Why? In what universe, in what planet can you live and look at these 2 guys just swinging their arms at each other, making no effort to put any body language in, making no contact, making no fucking effort to facially sell that they've been struck, just repeating it over and over and over and over because that's what their heroes from Japan. What? Am I just seeing? So, have I got the Roddy Piper They Live glasses on? Is everybody else seeing them hit each other? Or what is happening here?
No, it looks bad. And the other thing is, this match went a while. Moxley sold more for Tomohiro Ishii than I think anyone I've seen him in the ring with for the last 2 years, at least. He sold more for Ishii than anyone else. Nobody thought Ishii was going to win. Ishii's broken down like everyone else, and Moxley gave him as much as he could without, giving him the win, which would have been stupid. But yeah, the stuff doesn't look good. The trading chops thing or trading blows in the middle of the ring that Moxley always does, it never looks good, and he goes to it every match. Sometimes he goes into it after all the heinous shit, where it completely doesn't make sense. But yeah, please, back to your expert review.
Now that I've tried to pour bleach down your throat, I'm going to hit you with a devastating forearm shiver.
And I'm going to wait for you. I'm going to tell you, do it to me. Now I want you to do it to me.
Please hit me so that I can then in turn hit you again. It's just so fucking stupid.
And we will do this until we speed up to the point where no one knows what the hell's happening and no one can see that no one's hitting anybody. Every time.
So Ishii is 5 feet tall and nothing on him bends. He's like the goddamn Tin Man before they found the oil can.
Hey, by the way, this is Title Tuesday. What title is this for?
We ain't got there yet. There ain't no titles up yet. But it's like watching Sweet Daddy Watts wrestle is all I'm. If you've ever wondered, Brian, what it was like watching Sweet Daddy Watts wrestle at 5'4" and 402 pounds. Yeeshee. And they went about 15 minutes, and finally, the most boring finish possible that you can imagine for these two would be for him to just grab a hold in the middle of the ring and fucking lay there for a while, and that's what happened. Boozer choked him out. So that was that. Then the long-awaited six-man street fight that it was challenged for by MVP on the behalf of the Hurt Syndicate against Ricochet and his stooges, Tia Leone and Bishop Khan. And as soon as Ricochet and the stooges came out, they fill the ring up with the horse shit. They throw chairs in the ring, and I mean, they got a garbage can and whatever the fuck. And of course, this, as we mentioned last week, this kind of, it makes sense with what the Hurt Syndicate have done with these guys, except that they then brought these heels onto TV to have the tag team champions beat them in between the first match where these guys beat the Hurts and this match where the Hurts wanted revenge. So it's all fucked up. But nevertheless, the Hurts came out in the suits for the street fight. Brian, do you remember that's what me and the Midnight Express did at Starrcade 85? We came out for the street fight with Ronnie Garvin and I should say Miss Atlanta Lively and Jimmy Valiant. We went and got tuxedos. As a matter of fact, I think the only part of mine that still is in one piece is the cummerbund. But anyway, they started a six-way on the ramp. They had the chairs and the trash cans in the ring. It was the same shit that everybody does in these situations. The Hurt Syndicate look good because they're grown men in suits, and they can work, but God damn, this is tough. The big one, Leone, is not good. Not good at all. Not good in a variety of ways. How? Let me count the ways. I can't. And nobody cares about the heels because Ricochet only has, this guy's kind of an annoying douchebag heat. And poor Bishop Khan has the potential of the bunch of them because he's got size unlike Ricochet, but he's also can work a little unlike Leone. But a street fight is above these heels. Ricochet doesn't know how, and the other two are too green. And they barely used the ring for a lot of it. They broke two tables ongoing in the match, and then Ricochet, they put Shelton on a table in the middle of the ring after they've already broken two. And then Ricochet does a backflip off the top rope onto a splash onto Shelton, and he's so small it didn't break the table. And the people are like, eh. So two more guys just ran and jumped on it and broke it. And why did they break the other two tables first if they were setting up that spot? But hold on, there's more. They got another table in the ring. I wrote this one in. Lashley speared all three of them and put Leone through a table on the floor. So there's number 4. And then all three of the Hurt Syndicate cornered Ricochet, and Shelton hooked Ricochet and gave him a big German suplex and threw him through another table. Number 5. And then Shelton covered him 1, 2, 3. Besides, what in the world? 5 tables. What does it mean? Somebody's going to get stabbed one of these days through the goddamn intestines with a table shard for some spot that they've done 4 times previously in a match. It took almost 20 minutes. It was not good, and I believe it damaged the Hurt Syndicate's aura and reputation to win this match. Because it ain't working. There's no chemistry here. Am I lying, Brian?
No, you're not lying, Brian. The Ricochet thing to me hasn't been working. They brought him in with a bunch of fanfare. They pretty quickly turned him heel and then made him an annoying heel that you didn't take seriously. They gave him the.
But now hold on, they didn't turn him heel. He turned himself heel.
The fans turned him heel.
The fans said, "You know what? We've realized now that you're allowed to be yourself. You're a goddamn douchebag."
And they capitalized on that by months later creating a faction for him and the Gates of Agony, who have been in multiple factions so far in AEW, I believe, and hadn't won a match. Didn't Don Callis have them at one time and trade them to somebody else when he'd never had them before, or was that vice versa? I'm not sure. I know they were with...
Didn't Jake sell them to somebody?
No, Jake sold the Mexican wrestlers to Don Callis in exchange. Oh, no, he got Mexican wrestlers back in exchange for Lance Archer. That's what it was.
Oh.
And then we never saw Jake ever again. He must be in Mexico.
If Jake goes to Mexico, I bet you'll have a problem getting him back.
I think they were part of Prince Nana's stable. And then that kind of became something else. Look, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the Hurt Syndicate. The fans seem to, too. I mean, the fans are still chanting for them when they come out. They get into it. But that's not going to last forever if they don't have the right opponents and something that people can really sink their teeth into.
Well, it not last forever. It's already kind of cooled off because there was more of that and more vehemence for it when they were the tag team champions and looking good, and they needed opponents, and Tony had made no opponents that were credible enough for them. I've heard people say, well, they don't want to put so-and-so over, they don't want to put so-and-so over. No shit. Because here are professionals that know and can assess talent and evaluate who they can work with. And they say, okay, so our choice is this fucking team, or this fucking team, or Hong Kong Phooey and his best friend. They didn't come there and sign, and probably this will be their last run in a major promotion because of age and etc. They didn't come there just to play in the ring with Ricky Steamboat's fucking daughter or some goddamn combination that Tony has slapped together on the spur of the moment. They came to get over and then establish some serious talent. And Tony has put no serious talent in front of them to establish. So they're having to make shit out of fucking toothpaste and duct tape.
You know what I would do?
What would you do?
In a few months or whenever it is, whenever MJF returns, I don't care how you get around the stupid announcement they made. He cashes in. He wins the belt. The only thing they've built up that I was interested in that never happened, go into an MJF Bobby Lashley program and draw it out. Don't go right to the match. Give it time, but go right to the Hurt Syndicate. We're supposed to help MJF, that's his name. They're supposed to help him. He did it on his own. And there's reason for them not to like him. At least there's a feud that someone will care about. But other than that, the Hurt Syndicate...
And if they'd have stuck with that when MJF was in the thing and had them in the group and had the tensions boil over, and finally there's the thing with MJF and Bobby. With MJF having the championship that they could have helped him. Who knows what they were going to do before they just said, "Oh, we're not going to do any of this," and just took it away. But then you would have MJF versus Lashley with a personal issue behind it, and Lashley is the baby face that people are going to want to see hurt people, and that people would be MJF, and you'd have something. Good Lord, but they couldn't finish that like they can't finish anything else. So you know what happened next, Brian? We were treated to the returning tag team of Dino Douche and Jungle Jackoff. And they wrestled, I don't know and I don't care. Did you get any names from these people? Were they even announced?
No,
I
mean,
I missed it. If
this was a squash match, which shows you how squash matches could work nowadays. Just let guys go out there and, win quickly and get them over. But I didn't get the names, no.
But having said that, you got to be judicious with who you choose to try to get over, because we're back in 2020. The only thing, he's not in his loincloth. He's still dressing like a mechanic with an empty knife holster on his belt, like a hunting knife is supposed to go there. But it would be somewhat ridiculous if you let a guy wrestle while he was wearing a hunting knife visually. So why don't he take the goddamn holster off? What is that, a fashion now with these young jackoffs that are sons of legitimate stars?
No, I think it's a thing where if CM Punk kicks the shit out of you, you start carrying a knife. I'm not going to let this happen again. Come get me now, Punk.
Either that or they're building up to a celebrity crossover with Mark Sanchez. All right, well,
maybe it was that knife. He had an empty knife thing. Maybe it was that knife.
It's been taken for evidence. The baby faces won in 2 minutes over these guys, but there's, again, the kid, except the loincloth and the fucking dinosaur. It's 5 years ago. It was underneath then. The people like hearing the Baltimora so they can go, whatever, but seriously. He's 5 years older and deeper in debt, is Jungle Jack. The Hardley boys were watching with the other marks in the stands this match, and then they came to the ring and pulled Jungle Jack out. And then they got in the ring and made the big production of leaping into Dino's double choke slam grip. But then they double ball kicked him and gave him the shitty knee lift. Now they've got the giant lizard selling that shitty little double knee lift that they do that has never looked good, and there's not even any way to take a bump off of it. It's just bleh. And then they double super kicked Jungle Jack. Little Nicky never even took his glasses off, so they're really taking this seriously. And then they challenged him for a match at the pay-per-view and gave Jungle Jack off the phony flipping tombstone. And nobody cared. They didn't care that the Buckaroos beat these baby faces up, and they didn't care that the baby faces are going to get a match with the Buckaroos. They don't care. What are the Hardley boys right now, little Maddie and Nikki, what are they contributing? Everything is either comedy with tongue in cheek and just they're jacking off, or they come out and do an angle like this that they don't fart. The people don't care. And then they have a match where they do the same shit they always do. What are they contributing to this operation?
Nothing. What are they contributing to the budget? That may be a different thing there, but yeah, I mean, they even tried to play into the throwback of them punching Jack Perry in the gut the same way Jack Perry had done to Tony Khan in the exact same building. Why would you want to remind anyone of that? Why would you want to remind anyone of the angle that went nowhere, that everyone said was a joke, that AEW fans said, no, sit back, watch this, and then it went nowhere and it was a complete joke? But that's what they did. Let Jurassic Express and Young Bucks work together. I think it should be, best of 9. Just let them work together for the next year and build up the rest of the show, not having to deal with the Bucks crowd.
Well, then we had the Battle of the Kyles. Kyle Felcher against Kyle Brovslavsky. I'm sorry, it's Kyle O'Reilly. This was a shame that I didn't care, because Kyle O'Reilly has such a unique style. He's such a hardworking kid. I say kid now, I used to be a kid. And at one point, especially when he was in NXT with the group, that hybrid MMA style that he uses, the different things that he could do. He doesn't have a tremendous physique, but he's like an Elia, the small, wiry guy that can sell, blah, blah, blah. You could have done something. He's just been floating around in this crowd for so long, never wins, never taken seriously. So naturally, the guy that Kyle Felcher that they're pushing to the moon, they have a match and go 15 minutes with a flat finish. But Felcher hit him with a brain buster, then hit him with a big head kick, and then hit him with a brain buster. 1, 2, 3. I was like, what the fuck? What? He had just gotten out of an attempt by Kyle to do a leg lock or an ankle lock or whatever and hit that brain buster. That'd have been perfect place cover. 1, 2, 3. Exciting, convincing, and gives Kyle something. Instead, he brain busted him, then he kicked him in the head, then he picked him up and brain busted him and beat him like a goddamn carpet on your porch. Flat. Bleh. I don't mean beat him flat. I mean, it was fucking flat. Bleh. So then Lance Archer comes in to beat up Kyle O'Reilly. But Roderick Strong comes in. And Ishii comes in. But Rocky Romero comes in. And they're all kicking the shit out of the baby faces. The fans are kind of Mark Briscoe comes in with music and makes a big comeback and dumps all the heels and gets the fans up. And at least they're ending strong. And then Mark turns around and sees Kyle Felcher and they both stop and they start staring at each other. And they don't fight. And it kills the momentum. And the crowd comes down. And Kyle walks out. And Briscoe lets him. What the fuck? It's some kind of indie wrestling thing or Japanese wrestling thing or whatever small subset of the wrestling profession that Tony's mind is in and all these indie guys, that's a big dramatic thing, that here comes the babyface making a big comeback. He clears the heels out of the ring that have been doing the damage and all the people are up. And then he turns and sees one of them. And to make sure this is a big deal, instead of fighting him, he stops and he stares at him and the other guy stares at him and they stare some more and then they walk off. What the fuck is the matter with these? They've never had to sell a ticket next week. Their money's always been guaranteed. They've always been on a goddamn minimum or a contract or a whatever. And they think this is somehow dramatic. Is that what I'm gathering from this, Brian? Is this a Japanese thing or an indie wrestling thing?
Oh, I don't know. It's not a good thing or a logical thing. I don't know where it disseminates from.
Well, speaking of insemination, up next was the TBS title with Lacey Lane challenging Mercedes Moon. Should Lacey Lane team with JC Jane? JC and Lacey or Lane and Jane?
Swear to God.
Go down.
Every fucking name in women's wrestling sounds like they're auditioning for porn.
Remember we did that segment. We should do another one of those. They got a whole bunch of new names now.
Developmental porn star. I guess it is time for another round, maybe. Okay.
So after about 10 minutes, thank God it didn't go longer than that, they made Pat O'Connor spin in his grave, reversing roll-ups, trying to reverse roll-ups, and Mercedes came out and hit that mess of a finish that she does. 1, 2, 3. I watched it again in slow motion. I can still not tell not only what damage it's supposed to do, but even how the person is supposed to take it, because everybody takes it a different way and she does it a different way. But a legitimate booker, regardless of how much of a disappointment Mercedes Moan has been to business and to the program and everything else for the money she was paid and the attention that she apparently believes she warrants, a legitimate booker would go to her and say 4 short, simple words that would need to be followed. Find a new finish. I can't believe that nobody feels that they have the cachet in the industry, including the goddamn guy that's paying her millions of dollars, that they can go up to her and say, find a new finish. Find a new fucking finish. All righty then. Would you like to talk about the Double Jeopardy Eliminator match, Brian?
Let's talk about the Double Jeopardy Eliminator match. A lot of guys, a lot of Callis family. Let's get to it.
Well, here was the stipulation. Now it's Bandito and Burger King under their team name of Brodildo. And they are facing, from the Don Callis family, Oblada, the world's laziest wrestler, and our friend Take a Shit. And the stipulations are, if Brody or Bandito win the fall, then they get a unified title shot against Okada. But if Okada and Take win, then they get a tag team title match with Bandito and the other fella. And I'm sorry, Okada makes a propofol addict look like a meth head. There's complete disinterest. There's no effort. It's almost like he's being drugged and held hostage against his will, and he's sleepwalking through this shit. And at 2 minutes into the match, Bandito threw a drop kick, landed, hurt his arm, and tagged out. And never got in till the finish. Then he was fine, but I don't know what's going on with this guy. The Japanese fellas do the same shit that everybody else does. Brody King tries to do shit that a guy 100 pounds lighter than him should do. They finally cold tag. But Bandito made a comeback. The arm, as I said, seemed okay, but the comeback was sloppy. The finish was a mess because it was an extended four-way back and forth with no flow. The fans were sitting on their hands. Neither team, in my opinion, knows how to be a team. There were no tags. The referee was staring at everything. At that point, it's just moves. Who's the faces? Who's the heels? You know, because you can recognize the people, but you can't tell because of the work. And then Bandito goes for that stupid flippy German suplex where the guy has to bend over like he's preparing to be butt-fucked in prison, hanging onto the top rope, and he flips over the guy, then back over, and then Germans him. But he couldn't do it because of his bad arm or whatever the fuck. And he landed and turned his back on his opponent so obviously, so that Take could jump up and give him a reverse Hurricane Rana. But then he went for a knee. But he, as Take was going to run out of the corner to knee the guy, Okada was supposed to jump up and tag his partner. But Okada was late, so Take had to start running, stop, back up into the corner, get tagged, then start again, and then realize he'd been tagged and then stop. And Okada got in and clotheslined Bandito 1, 2, 3. So now Tony has put this lazy louse over his tag team champions when at least the people like the tag team champions. They like Bandito and Brody King. I would have Okada for his money. I would have him out doing verifiable road work every morning at 6 o'clock. Put one of those goddamn Apple watches on him to make sure he gets his steps in. I would crack down on that lazy, indifferent, uninterested, unmotivated son of a bitch and make him earn every single penny of his fucking money. Because he has taken a spot that other guys are working their asses off for. And whether you like any of these guys or not, at least the people who are working hard and have some talent should be rewarded over this fucking waste of flesh just because Tony has a goddamn hard on for what the guy used to be able to do 10 years ago. I'll move on.
Yeah, and I'm sick already of the long-term build to Takeshita and Okada finally coming to blows. Like,
they're going to stare at each other again next week. I know they are, Brian.
They do it in the promos. They do it in the ring. It's the same thing, and it just never goes anywhere.
If you were mad at somebody, why would you just get up in their face and stare at them without saying something? Doesn't that kind of go along with it when you're in somebody's face, you're about to have a fight with, motherfucker, fuck you, you fucking fuck. They just look at each other with wide eyes and strange expressions.
Yeah, like Larry David would sometimes do on Curb Your Enthusiasm with like funny music playing behind it. Like you can't take it seriously because no one behaves like that, but that is the modern day Don Callis. Someone called the Don Callis family. I saw this in the Cult of Cornette Facebook group the other day. The Who World Order. The Who World Order. Everyone's in there except Andrade, who conveniently disappeared off TV a week after his big debut and attack on Kenny Omega.
We'll have developing updates on that.
There may be a story there. Yeah, there may be something there.
Just a little tale to tell that a wee little bird might tell.
A tale with cause.
So then tell it with cause, baby. Cause the next match was Pockets and Pac. 2 hours and 15 minutes into the show, and we get the company mascot against the returning Pac. And I wrote, numbers will plummet, because this was a 2.5 hour show.
With that haircut, Pac now looks like midget General Zod on steroids.
No, I beg to differ. I think General Zod on steroids would be a fine looking man. I think that Pac now with the short hair and the lighter look with the haircut and beard, it makes him look like Eric Young and Austin Aries had a baby.
Huh. Okay.
See there?
I'll stick with General Zod.
Now, I'm telling you, facially, he's Eric Young. Hair-wise, he's Austin Aries. And
body-wise, is 1982 Billy Jack Haynes. Jesus Christ, is he ripped.
Well, but that's the thing. He's ripped. He's lost weight and gotten ripped. He's actually lighter, I believe. And he's in incredible shape, but the haircut, you can tell now he looks the same as all the rest of them.
Come to me, son of Jarrell.
But no, he looks shorter.
That's what I said. I said midget General Zod on steroids.
But yeah, that's the thing. He looks like a shorter child, at least with the long hair that he would flip down through and look through, in front of his face. It was just something, but he looks like a young guy with regular hair now, but hell of a body.
Did you see their promo earlier in the night? The Death Riders, minus Moxley, did a promo.
I've passed that out of my memory.
Oh, it was so embarrassing. You should have seen it because they're all standing there trying to look bad. And clearly they've rehearsed who comes in when. Because it was like, I'll stop talking. And then the next person just jumps in looking right at the camera like, and now it's my turn to say something that almost sounds natural. And now I will say something. It was bad. Daniel Garcia is so bad at these kind of things, but that was building up this match here.
Well, this match needed some building. Because it looked like Dynamite Kid wrestling a guy from Starbucks. Again, this fucking guy's been off for 6 months with an injury or whatever, but he comes back. And he's in incredible physical shape, hair choices aside. He has to go 15 minutes with the mascot? What the fuck? How do they think anybody is going to get over? And then, not only that, to be quite honest, he got beat. They put the mascot, this little buggy whip armed fucking nebbish, beats Pac, looking like a goddamn badass. The finish was Pac rolled out and crawled away. He was crawling away from Pockets, trying to avoid, please don't hurt me anymore, Mr. Pockets. And they go into the stands to this exact place where then suddenly Pac gives Pockets a tombstone on the bleachers, on the risers. One would think that that would be the end of Pockets, but no. Pac tries to go back to the ring, but he looks down and Darby Allin behind him has chained his ankle to the railing of the risers. So Pockets manages to get back to the ring, and finally Pac breaks the chain, beats the count, gets in at 9, and Pockets rolled him up and beat him 1, 2, 3. His first TV match in 6 months, and he gets beat by a joke. And they wonder. So then, Brian, before we get, because now we're past 10:30, they're in an overrun of their half-hour overrun. But any comments on this athletic contest before we get to the exchange of munitions?
I certainly didn't think Pac would beat Orange Cassidy because Tony Khan's the booker. A surprise finish. You never expect handcuffs. And the match was a main event that I didn't think would get people's interest, which is always questionable why Tony does that, because he always does a big angle at the end lately. And this was just like every other week.
So after they have given us an extra half hour of show and they put the mascot in the main event to run off the viewers, and they've gone into an overrun, so Impractical Joker's now number is in jeopardy, Pac goes after Darby over by the announce desk, and Darby, the announcers never even got to call it because it looked like he sprayed what would be pepper spray or mace or something in Pac's face. And the announcers started to cough and like, but they didn't have time to even tell you, oh my God, he's used mace on the guy. Here comes Wheeler Useless, and he gets thrown over the desk, and Darby pulls out a taser. A taser, and he's crackling, crackle. And he's threatening Garcia and Claudio. And with the taser, after he's used the mace, I mean, what kind of army surplus store is he shopping in? Moxley gets out there and joins the party with Marina Shafir, and Darby runs away out to the back with the heels following him. And as they start to come up on him, they get a shot of Darby. He's got a Molotov cocktail. He's dropped the mace. He's foregone the taser, and he's gone straight to a Molotov cocktail. For the young folks out in the audience, that means he has a glass bottle or container filled with a flammable liquid with a piece of cloth or other type of wick sticking out of the neck of the bottle that he's about to light with a lighter that he will then throw at the Boozer and the Boar Horsemen and set them on fire. But security tackles him before he can light it. And I swear to this, we were foiled. We were that close.
I almost got to see the Death Riders burn to death, those goddamn security guards.
Well, but now we don't really know that it will hurt because he flamethrowered Moxley the other week, and Moxley was back out several days later on TV, wasn't even limping or with a Band-Aid. But 20 security people and referees come into the middle of this thing, but all of them go to block off the heels and kick them all out and scream at them while one security guy is on top of Darby, holding him immobile on the ground, the baby face. No wonder he needs the goddamn Molotov cocktail and a taser and a fucking mace, because one security guy has him down on the ground stretching him.
That's why Jack Perry needed that knife.
That's the way the show
guys at AEW need any weapon they can get, and Tony seems to allow it.
And boy, they know where to shop. Can we cover this program as anything other than a parody at this point? Isn't it just now? It's just a parody, a bunch of guys who were frustrated because they were too young to get on the original Jackass and now they're just playing wrestling. Molotov cocktails and they wonder why the announcers, that nobody believes the announcers. And everybody says the announcers are the shits and the announcers can't sell anything because they have to talk about this shit like it's really fucking happening. And they sound like morons. And of course, that's Mother Nature's plan when we're talking about Sockface, but
yeah, if he had done it too, if he had thrown it at Mox, they were still like near the fans. It would have lit the fans on fire. It would have gone into the stands and lit the whole building on fire. Darby would have killed the audience to get to Jon Moxley.
And instead of just the ratings to get to Jon Moxley. But it's just ludicrous at this point. And, you know, the roster is dropping from injuries because they can't stop trying to top everything everybody else has ever done. The more risks you take, the more times it backfires. The segments run into each other and they're so incomprehensible now. They break a table, they break 5 tables. The excess and the just cloudy booking where nothing makes sense by the time you come to the end of something because so many people have joined in. And the lack of any coherent focus on getting any talent over. I think we need to cover it as they're trying to be a shit show. And this is an intentional parody.
I mean, how far are they going to go with this Darby stuff too? Like, I saw someone raise the argument, it may have been in the Cult of Cornette Facebook group, like, if I was a kid, I would have thought it was cool that some guy came out with a flamethrower. It's like, all right, well, there aren't too many kids watching the fucking show. You could start with that. And secondly, again, it's wrestling. I mean, yeah, if I was a kid, I would have popped if someone drove a Jeep right through the middle of the ring while a match was happening. There's no logic or reason to it. The fact that Darby, in the span of like 2 weeks, had a flamethrower, handcuffs,
mace,
a taser,
cocktail,
and a Molotov cocktail. He got tackled. By the way, signed the security guard. That guy gave Darby a fucking spear. Darby went down. But yeah, this isn't very good. And, you know, what are you supposed to do? They already did the coffin match. This is all this shit is the build to the I quit match. It's causing the fans to quit. And they do it at the end of the show so the fans don't even see it. They know, they see the ratings. No one's staying around till the end to see Orange Pockets, I was about to call them. Orange Pockets versus Pac. And they buried this angle there where it'll mean the least.
But if they'd have just had some kind of finish where Pac could have picked Pockets' pockets. Maybe he just picks pockets.
Well, that was AEW Dynamite. It feels like they're picking our pocket, a pickpocket edition.
You know what I'd like to pick for them, don't you, Brian?
No.
Another line of work. I would love for the people in AEW to get in any other line of work except someone or one that I have given blood, sweat, and tears to and hate to see have the boots put to it. I think they need to figure out, should they sell munitions perhaps? Should Darby Allin start an online business where he can market munitions and weapons to all the war-ravaged countries around the world? He can sell a boxed Molotov cocktails. Maybe a box of 8 could be cheaper than just one. Whatever. I'm spitballing here.
Well, for this specific example, knowing where I think you're going, I don't know if we should suggest that idea, but maybe Darby can get into some other business like creating stuffed animals for children or something that isn't dangerous in any way, where we don't have to worry about any restrictions on that business. And he needs a helping hand, that is, for his business. And
he needs a hand. He needs a hand to help.
Don't we all? And of course, ladies and gentlemen, our friends at Shopify.
Shopify is where we're going with that, because Shopify could help Darby Allin. And I agree with you. Shopify could take Darby Allin's incoherent ravings and rantings of a madman, and they could put them into a coherent business plan that could be successful for all parties. Now, let's say Darby Allin decided, like you mentioned, that he wanted to make cute stuffed animals for children. And you find out when you get them and you make money with them that way. And then you find out when you get them that for the adults, you can tear the head off the stuffed animal or bunny rabbit or whatever. And there's a wick and it contains flammable material, and you can turn that son of a bitch into a Molotov cocktail.
Let's not do that. We don't want to. Okay.
See, we want to make money for the children and the adults. And the children need the stuffed bunnies, and the adults need the Molotov cocktail.
The adults don't need Molotov cocktails. And ladies and gentlemen,
this is the United States of America. We are allowed to possess any weapons that we want, from weapons grade uranium to all sorts of hand grenades and heat-seeking missiles.
Again, well, hold on. Oh, you hear that? That's dramatic. That means we need to get back on.
That's dramatic. Well, Shopify can help you folks get started with your own business and commercial property idea, because Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. Household names you would recognize like Mattel and Garbage. That's a household name. All the way down to brands just getting started like Darby's Munitions. From your design studio, content creation, marketing team, a commerce expert, social media campaign, Shopify can do it all for you, and they can make you money in the process. And all you have to do to turn your big business idea into cha-ching reality is get Shopify on your side. Sign up right now for your $1 a month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/JCE. $1 a month trial period. It's a feeling out process. You're going to feel them out. They're going to feel you up for only $1. Hey, you're the cheapest date out there. And then if you like each other and you want to get together and make Molotov cocktail history,
not that.
Shopify.com/JCE.
Again, for safe, non-flammable business products, and of course, a fiery team behind you, Shopify. Oh, big drama, Shopify.com/JCE. Well, Jim, let's talk about AEW Dynamite on TBS, as usual, on Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, 8 to 10 p.m. Now, they ran past that. They ran to, 10:30? Again?
Yeah, they're at 10:35.
Yeah, they're running. Every show's now 2.5 hours. It's been the last few weeks. On average, watched by 321,000 viewers.
Ouch! So, we can assume, based on these numbers that we're being given, which are all up in the air, and who knows what the story is on these things. But since they're using the same measurement parameters from one week to the next, we can assume that not only did nobody not watch NXT to watch AEW, but more people watched NXT this week that it had wrestling opposition than it did last week by being measured under the same system.
Yeah.
But somewhere around 320,000 of AEW's normal fans who would watch on Wednesday either remembered to, cared to, or did make the choice to switch nights and watch them here.
And last week, last week in their usual Wednesday night spot, they did their record low of 465.
Well, and that was their first big experience with the new rating system. So now this is the second experience they've had, but they're also on a different night. If next Wednesday is back up in the 4s, at least, then we will know that it was the night change. And if it's not, then we'll just say, Jesus Christ. But go ahead. Do we have quarters or halves?
Oh, we got quarters.
Dimes?
We've got the quarters here.
You dime bags in that company?
These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Samoa Joe and Adam Page's live promo and Mark Briscoe's backstage promo. 445,000 viewers.
Okay, so I do apologize. 445,000 knew that it was on and started watching it. They just apparently ain't going to keep them. Go ahead.
Yeah, they started right where they left off last week. Quarter 2, 8:15 to 8:30 p.m. And by the way, that was 117,000 in the key demos. Since I discussed it for the other show, I'll bring it up here. 8:15, 8:30 p.m. Tomohiro Ishii versus Jon Moxley, a picture-in-picture. 350,000 viewers.
Good Lord. Out of 445,000, they lost 95,000 in 15 minutes.
People wanted to see what was on each channel. It was Adam Page and Samoa Joe, followed by Moxley versus Ishii versus the Hardy Boys Hardy Boys match.
Yeah.
Followed by the start of that women's thing. Second quarter here.
They definitely didn't want to see Moxley and Ishii. That's for sure. Go ahead.
And that did 101,000 in the key demo. Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. The Young Bucks backstage promo, an ad break, Tony Storm Chris Statlander video, and the start of the Hurt Syndicate versus the Demand street fight, with picture-in-picture. 354,000 viewers.
So they actually picked 4,000 back up once they got rid of Moxley and the potato.
99,000 in the key demo. Jim, if you still have it there, what did NXT do in quarter 2? Because that would have been, or segment 2, 8:30.
Well, 8:30 to 9 o'clock would be 672,000 people for NXT with 150 in the key demo versus for the first 15 minutes of that period, 354,000 and 99. So they're not quite doubling the audience, and they're about half again in the key demo.
When we go to quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m., the continuation of the Hurt Syndicate Demand match, followed by an ad break. 323,000 viewers. 88,000 in the key demo.
Yeah, I told you that one was a rough one to watch for a while, but did they... Now, here's the thing. At 9 o'clock, it appears that NXT loses a significant portion because even though we've only got the half hours, when we go to the third half hour, they go down from 672 to 622. Does that mean that AEW got a big pickup in quarter 5 at 9 o'clock?
Well, they do call it the big 9 o'clock hour. Jim, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter 5. The Don Callis backstage promo. KM versus Orion. Okay, I don't know what the hell he wrote here. WrestleNomics. The Jurassic Express match. The post-match with the Young Bucks. The Pac backstage promo. And the start of Kyle Fletcher versus Kyle O'Reilly. 321,000 viewers.
Ouch.
107 in the key demo.
Okay, they lost 1,000 people, but they gained 19,000 in that particular age group. I'm smelling stinky fish all over the place here these days.
Well, Jim, that stink will continue into quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The continuation of Fletcher versus O'Reilly, the post-match with the Callis family and Roderick Strong and Mark Briscoe, followed by an ad break. 277,000 viewers.
Ouch.
97,000 in the key demo.
And then the key demo is still 97,000 when there's 277,000 viewers versus the key demo was 88,000 when there was 322,000. So I don't know what's happening here.
Well, we go now to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The Kyle Fletcher backstage promo. Mercedes Moné versus Lacey Lane with picture-in-picture. The Sammy Guevara Beast Mortos backstage promo. 270,000 viewers. 86,000 in the key demo.
Well, that's the low on everything so far. At this point, they got to come up somewhere to hit their average, don't they?
Well, we'll see what the rest of the story tells us. We will now go to quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. I remind you, we have a 33-minute overrun. So there'll be 3 more quarters to talk about after this. The usual end of the show, 9:45 to 10 p.m. An ad break, Brodito versus Okada and Takeshita with picture-in-picture ads. 249,000 viewers, 72,000 in the key demo.
By the time they get to the end of this, are they going to owe us viewers?
Well, we shall see, but those are the lows right there. We now go to the big 10 o'clock hour, quarter 9, 10 to 10:15 p.m. The continuation of Brodito versus Okada and Takeshita, the Jet Speed Willow Nightingale promo, an ad break, Stokely, FTR, Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford backstage promo. Why are they all together? Brodito's backstage promo, and the start of Orange Cassidy versus Pac. 325,000 viewers, 77,000 in the key demo.
Okay, wait a minute. So it was, as I recall, Impractical Jokers was listed as the program afterwards at 10:30 to 11. We're still at 10 o'clock here. But how
did people turn off NXT and go here? And not even a large amount. I mean, less than 100,000. Did 80,000 people say, hey, I'm going to go see what's going on over there?
Okay, now I'm sorry, I forgot about that point, because that is 76,000. But while they gained 76,000 people, they say they only gained 5,000 in the key demo. So, yeah, but that's okay. That saved them. That influx right there saved AEW from one of the most miserable numbers ever. What was 9:45 to 10 before? Or I'm sorry, what was 10:15 to 10:30 before we get to the overrun?
We have two more quarters to discuss here. 10:15 to 10:30 p.m. Continuation of Orange Cassidy versus Pac, and the post-match with Darby Allin and the Death Riders, or at least the start of it. 301,000 viewers, 76,000 in the key demo. 3 minutes past that, 10:30 to 10:33, more of the post-match, 304,000 viewers, 77,000 in the key demo.
Yeah, at least they got the last half hour. Because if you took that out, they wouldn't have been over 300,000 for an average if you took out those last 2 quarters and the overrun. Good night.
It's a sad state of affairs.
And I mean, who knows what the validity is of any of these numbers, but they're all being judged in the same fashion. And it didn't look good for Tony's Ponies.